Bathory's first album on vinyl is one of the most collectible vinyl records of metal. Its value has touched the $2,400 and it is certain that in the future the price for a mint copy will rise higher. Today I will tell you the story of this vinyl and you will understand why it's so collectible. It's also interesting Quorthon's not so positive reaction to the fact that this vinyl record was being sold at such a high price at the time. If there's one album that paved the way for the first era of black metal, that's without doubt the first album of Bathory. The edition called Yellow Goat, from the album cover color, is a very collectible album, and the history of creating this vinyl record has some interesting but also some funny incidents. My name is Yannis and I am the founder of Vinyl Marketplace. My passion for music and the history of collectible vinyl records is huge, and I share it with you through Vinylom's YouTube channel. I hope you like the story. So, for those who don't know, Bathory formed in March 1983. Quorthon, the driving force behind the band, who unfortunately is no longer among us, was working at that time part-time at the small record label Typhon, which was owned by his father, Borge Forsberg, if I pronounce this right. In late 1983, the label was putting together a compilation of songs by Scandinavian metal bands. The album, called Scandinavian Metal Attack, was released in March 1984 and was Bathory's first appearance on record with two songs. Sacrifice and The Return of Darkness and Evil had a positive response from the audience, and this prompted the record label to recommend them to record their first album. The album was recorded in a garage studio called Heavenshore and the budget was only $700. Quorthon's father, Boris Forsberg, was the producer and sound engineer of the album. The album was originally to be named Pentagrammaton and to have a pentagram on the cover, but this name turned down and the pentagram was moved to the back. The Bathory album was a highly dark and evil record for its era, with influences from hardcore, speed and thrash metal. For the cover, Quorthon had decided that the main color for the album was going to be black. Not wanted to feature the classic Baphomet illustration on the front as first intended. A single monstrous goat-like face was glued together from a collage of eyes, a nose and a mouth cut out from several horror comic magazines. Liberal amounts of Tipex and black ink were used for masking and adding a few details such as the torso, fur, ears and horns. Quorthon wanted the goat to be in gold. In an interview he said, "I had read somewhere that the color gold was a magic color. The color silver was the color of goodness and light, but the color gold could be used for both light and dark ceremonies. So we decided to print the album cover in gold and black, but the record company told them that this was too expensive." Quorthon had said in one of his interviews also, "Since we didn't have enough money to cover that additional cost, we asked the firm to use a plain color as close to gold as possible." A week and a half later, when I opened the parcel with the first 25 copies and I saw the goat on the cover in canary bird yellow, I just about puked. Whoever did supervise the color used, it must have been a completely colorblind person. It looked horrible. But though we very much would have liked to just burn the canary bird yellow covers, as we call them, even though I must confess it looks more like neon yellow, we didn't have the authority or the money to have a second go at it. A funny fact concerns the title Necromancy, is the title listing on the back cover of the record. Sheets of old English rub-on letters had already been purchased for rubbing the logo and the song titles. At some point during rubbing the song titles, the night before turning the layout in for printing, it was discovered that they were one letter C short. Thinking nobody would ever notice anyway, S was duly used instead of a C. Thus the title Necromancy with a C became Necromancy with an S. Finally, only 1,000 of these canary bird yellow babies could be produced. In order to stay within budget, the band had to choose between producing either a bunch of 300, 500 or 1,000 LPs. They chose producing 1,000 LPs, which actually was the more cost-effective and cheaper option. But they weren't really sure if they would ever be able to sell off all of them. Not even Quorthon himself paid much attention to the rarity these first album covers might one day become. At the end of the 80s, he gave away the last handful of these LPs to a bunch of die-hard fans who had never been able to find a copy of their own. These days, a mint copy of the vinyl record is worth $2,400. At the time, it was worth $100 and an autographed copy $500. According to the excellent website Tribute to Bathory, bathory.new, from which important information of this video comes, Quorthon reported to have said about the issue of high prices sold by Yellow Goat. This whole thing concerning the Yellow Goat is really damaging in one way. It's a circus that literally tears my heart out. The Yellow Goat covers are only rare in that they are fewer, being limited to 1,000 copies produced, but they are in no way better or more special because of the different color used. It's just a color difference. It should make people prepared to pay over $100 for a copy. That's insane and an insult to the music. That second-hand circus of rarity show doesn't have anything to do with the music of Bathory. It's a hysteria created by people more focused on the dollar tag attached to a certain object because of the relative and highly subjective novelty of the object. This particular edition included the original intro and outro of the album, whereas almost every later edition has the fade-in intro and the cut-it outro. Bathory broke up in 2004 after the death of Quorthon due to cardiac arrest at the age of 38. From time to time, some copies are available for sale, and if anyone wants to buy them, he'll have to spend for a near-mint copy from $1,800 to $2,200. If you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. I'm preparing some very interesting content like this, so if you want to be one of the first to see it, ring the bell also. Thank you so much for watching the video. Enjoy music, enjoy life, enjoy vinyl. Love and rock and roll.